Welcome to the video lecture for the textbook, Understanding Project Management, A Practical Guide, second edition. This is chapter 2, Starting the Project. This slide is showing a review of the project lifecycle that was discussed in the previous video lecture. You can see initiating, planning, executing, and closing. And then you can see the chapters of the textbook displayed as to where they fall in the project lifecycle. So for today, we're going to be discussing chapter 2, starting the project, which takes place during the initiating phase. So this is our roadmap of where we are in the process of a project. Our agenda for today are, first of all, a review of what are the options in a project. That's an initial step that's taken as the project is about to be initiated. We look at high-level options, so we're going to spend some time on that. And then there's the process of actually launching the project. Again, this all takes place during the initiating phase. So step one, what are the options? This is something to do, again, early in as the project is initiated. There are often a number of different options that may be taken, and these are broad options. You know, this may be to, well, first of all, should we do the project at all? You know, one of the options is perhaps to not do the project. And then if we are going to do the project, there are often broad different categories of things we could do. Now, the question is, well, why are we doing this now? Why don't we wait till we get into detailed planning? Well, sometimes it's useful to narrow down to one of these categories, because it can be very time consuming and costly to fully plan out every different single possible way of doing it. So this is to determine what is the overall approach or option that we're going to undertake. So this first step is to consider these different options or paths, if you want to think of it that way, that may be taken, and choose which one to take. So this is the process, and it's known as creating a business case, because we're going back to the business needs and saying which option will be most closely aligned with the needs of the business or organization. So as part of the creation of a business case, we look at each identified approach that we could do, and we look at and try to estimate the costs that will be incurred. Now, this can be difficult because we don't know exactly what they are. We may not know for sure, so we have to think about the work involved. We have to rely on our experience and so on. So we try to estimate those costs. We then try to estimate the benefits. And again, this can be difficult to determine, well, what are the benefits? Are we going to have increased sales? Is there increased market share? Will there be increased, goodwill in the industry and so on? What are those benefits? And then when we do estimate both, we compare them for each option, and then attempt or choose the optimal option. That's the business case process. Now, estimated costs, they may be tangible in nature, so they might be based on actual costs that we expect to incur, such as salary costs or costs of materials. Those would be examples of tangible costs. They may be intangible. For example, there may be the increased risk of missing a deadline. You know, there's a risk, there is a problem with that, but it's more difficult to assign an actual value to that. It's intangible. Likewise, the benefits that are estimated may be tangible in nature. We may expect to have increased revenue or sales. That's a tangible benefit. There may be intangible benefits, for example, greater brand recognition, which is, again, we know it's good. It's just more difficult to measure because it's intangible in nature. At this point, we're now going to view the next video installment of the ongoing case study. If you remember from the previous video lecture, there is the DecoCam version 4 project. So now we're going to see the creation of the business case. So our next step now is to follow along and see what happens during the initiating phase. So I'll just get that started and we'll just watch that together. Working late on a Friday afternoon, Sophie Featherstone is updating the final project documents for a recently completed project. Sophie has been with Deco Productions for just over 2 years, working as a senior project manager in the product distribution department. As she packs up to leave, her phone rings. Checking the call display, she sees that it is Arun Singh, Vice President, Mobile Products Distribution. "Hello, Sophie. Glad you're still here. I need you to manage the product launch for the new version of DecoCam. This is the biggest update to DecoCam that we've had. Its goal is a 5% increase in market share, so there is a lot riding on this one. Given all the good work you've done over the last couple of years, I know you're up to it."
Sounds great, Arun. Looking forward to working with you again.
Hanging up the phone, Sophie pulls out her notebook and starts a to-do list. She has a lot of work to do to get this project up and running quickly. There are many different options for completing a project. On a notepad, she sketches 3 main options. A, soft product launch, consisting of minimal promotional activities that would rely primarily upon word of mouth from existing DecoCam users. B, moderate product launch, consisting of option A plus promotions through the company's existing communication channels. C, full product launch, consisting of option B plus the development of a promotional video and creation of trade show materials. Over the next few days, Sophie consults with a number of people within the company. This helps her define the high-level content and develop a reasonable estimate for each option. As she completes her work, one of the options emerges as the best choice, and it becomes clear what her recommendation will be. She books a meeting with the project sponsor, Arun, who will select the final option. Okay, so let's debrief some of the things that happened in that video. So this is the developing options part of the business case. So during the case study, 3 options were developed by the project manager, Sophie. Now, where did these 3 options come from? It might have been her experience. She might have consulted with other colleagues. Maybe this is standard within their organization, or maybe she just thought of these were 3 good options. So these are developed. The soft product launch, which you saw in the video, moderate project launch, and a full product launch. So sort of, kind of 3 different levels of product launch. And again, this is the business case where you're thinking about these broad categories. The question now is which option to choose. So in terms of estimating the costs, we need to look at that. These, again, as I mentioned before, tend to be rough estimates as we don't know all of the details. So we are doing very high-level estimating. This can be difficult. For the case study project, Sophie decided to consider 2 measures of the cost. The budget that would be required, that is the salary costs, the costs of materials, etc. These are the tangible costs that we talked about before, and the risk that the product launch would not be ready by the due date required by the project sponsor. This is an intangible cost. Certainly it's something we don't want to be late, but it's harder to measure the actual value of it, but we know it's there. Okay, so in terms of the 3 options, you can see the cost, required budget, and risk of delay. Sophie, through her own analysis and perhaps working with others in the organization, has estimated a required budget of $10,000 and a risk of delay she considers the estimated 1%, 1 in 100. So unlikely, but not zero. There is for the soft launch. For the moderate launch, she estimates $25,000 budget required, a tangible cost of $25,000, and a 5% risk of delay. So you can see a higher risk, 5 times the risk of the soft launch, but still, likely a 95% chance of not being late. And then the full product launch was estimated to be $60,000. You can see it's a higher cost because presumably there's more to do, and a 10% risk of delay, right? So a 1 in 10 chance of delay, of having to delay the overall DecoCam version 4. So those are that's the cost analysis that she's done. We now switch gears into estimating the benefits, or she would have. So she's attempts to estimate those. Like costs, these tend to be rough estimates. It is very difficult to estimate future benefits with absolute accuracy. We have to not require that, that we know their estimates. For the case study, Sophie decided to consider 2 measures of the benefits. The increase in the company's market share. Remember, that was one of the goals when the project was first thought of, and so on. There was a goal of increasing the company's market share and an increase in the company's brand recognition, right? So those are the 2 measures that Sophie decides to estimate. Now, again, going back to our spreadsheet, we now put those 2 in: increase in market share and increase in brand recognition. For the soft launch, she estimates that it will be a 0% increase in market share. So we will be able to maintain our place in the market, and no increase in brand recognition. Now you might say, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, the benefit is you're not going to have we're assuming that by doing a soft launch, we at least won't lose market share or lose brand recognition. So we're holding our own, right? Which is a benefit. It's just not a very positive one. For the moderate product launch, an estimated 3% increase in the market share, within our industry space, and a moderate increase in brand recognition. And then finally, for the full product launch, a 6% increase in market share, and a significant increase in brand recognition. So these are the measures and assumptions and so on. And so now the challenge is to select which option to choose. We can't do all of these. The goal is to pick one, and this is something that is done the project manager, the project sponsor. This is a significant decision, so there may be many people involved with this. And the winner or the one selected, is the following. Now, as indicated, it's not only the project manager, but it may be the project team, project sponsors, other key stakeholders. In the textbook case study, the selected option, the one that Sophie and Arun and others chose, was option C, the full product launch. Now, that's not to say that in all instances the most expensive option is always selected. There might be other instances in other projects where options A or B would have been best. Maybe that would have been good enough, for example. So don't take from this that it's always the one with the highest benefit, sometimes, because those often come with the highest cost too. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I direct you to the textbook to review the completed business case, and it is on pages 22 and 23 of your textbook. So please take a moment just to peruse that. All of the information that we just talked about in the preceding slides are all contained in that business case document. So it allows for stakeholders to see the options, see the costs, the benefits, and be in a position to make an informed choice as to which option to select. So just as a key concept, the options for the project are documented in the business case. So to summarize. Okay, so now moving on to the second part of our agenda is the launching of the project. So we're now poised and ready to go. You can see the image shown there of, a rocket taking off, the launch of a rocket. That's what happens with projects. Now, just to pause for a moment, many companies, particularly large ones, often have many projects occurring at the same time. So a large organization can have many projects, 10, 20, 50, 100 more projects at any one time in various states of completion, right? So it's not one project at a time. That's very unlikely in most organizations. The image here, this picture included, is one of almost gridlock. Think of this traffic jam that's in this city, and think of each of those cars and vehicles as a project. And it's really hard to make your presence known in that sort of situation. So many stakeholders in the company may not be aware that the project has started or even exists, and that's a problem. You want the project to be known to key stakeholders and those that need to in the organization. So that's a challenge. The challenge is answered by the development of a document known as the project charter. So it's a key document during the initiating phase. Something is needed to announce the project exists and authorize the project manager to proceed with the project. That's the project charter. And this is the solution, this document, which does these things. The document contains information. It is like the introduction of the project. It has the key characteristics that have been determined so far. It has the project's goals and objectives. Okay, so those are what the goals of the project are. What is it meant to achieve? We need to understand that. It contains the overall project budget for the project, right? How much money is allocated to this project. It contains the name of the project sponsor and project manager. It contains any list of known key project stakeholders that are present on the project. It's not necessarily a list of all project stakeholders, but the key known ones at this point. It contains overall project milestones. What a milestone is, a key date or event in the future. So, a key milestone may be when the project is needed to be completed by, or when certain decisions need to be made by, certain customer meetings. Those are key milestones. So if those are known at this point, we include them. And then any overall project risks that are known as of this point in the project. Okay, so at this point, we can show again in the case in the case study, we're going to now show the creation of the project charter. So another video for us to watch. Again, now the business case is completed, and now Sophie needs to announce the project and create the project charter. So let's watch that. Sophie has accomplished a great deal over the last couple of weeks. The business case that she created was very useful for selecting the best option for the product launch. Her boss appreciated how well the options were presented and accepted her recommendation to proceed with the full product launch option. Over the last few days, Sophie has been in various discussions with a number of stakeholders within Deco Productions, including Casey and Arun. Through these discussions, she has clarified her understanding of the project's goals and objectives, key milestones, and possible risks. The only problem is that she suspects that she is the only one who understands the big picture of the project. Additionally, Sophie is concerned that there are many people within the organization who are not aware of this project. let alone that she is the project manager. She decides that it's time to summarize this information in a written report, the project charter. Given the number of stakeholders who will be affected by her project, she checks her calendar in order to book a project kickoff meeting. Okay, so we now see this next step take place, which is the creation of the project charter. So the project manager, Sophie, completes the project charter based on her discussions with the project sponsor, Arun, and other stakeholders. So you can think of the project charter as a summary of all of the discussions and work that has gone on so far in terms of the decisions that have brought us to this point in the project. So it's a key summary. The resulting document, once approved, becomes the basis for the planning phase and the rest of the project. So it's a very important, and key document. See the project charter. So again, go to your project textbook and see the project charter for the case study in chapter 2. It's on pages, the completed charter is on pages 24 and 25. Sorry, 25 and 26. So you can see the completed project charter there, and you'll see on all of the information that Sophie was able to glean from the work that has been done so far, and is included in the project charter document. So you can see that there. So again, key concept: the creation of the project charter signals that the project has started and authorizes the project manager to proceed with the project. Now, what often occurs, very recommended to occur during the initiating phase, right at the end of the initiating phase, is the project kickoff meeting. Now, this meeting is a gathering of the key stakeholders to officially launch or kick off the project, and it is advisable to do. Now, it's not required, but very advisable. It allows the key stakeholders to interact, ask questions, express concerns, get all of this discussed before the project proceeds into the planning phase. So it is, again, advisable to do. There's often a temptation of people are busy and to just send the project charter as an attachment in email and just assume everybody will read it and ask questions. On the other hand, if you have a meeting, an actual gathering of those people, it allows everyone to be in the same space at the same time, which is very, very useful. So again, key concept: the project officially begins when the project sponsor approves the project charter. And that's a key milestone in the course, is the approval and launch of the project, which the approval of the project charter signifies. Again, some key terminology that was introduced in this chapter. See the key terminology section for a complete list of key terms. Some references, and that is the end of this video lecture.